we have to talk about the Clasico. That's most of Coffee with Guillem today. But also there will be a little bit of Mbappé, of Xabi, Alonso and Lopetegui. But first, a coffee.
Un café con leche, yo creo hoy.
Right,
Are we all ready?
I'm ready. Look, that's all I need to start the day. So, 3:15 UK time, that's where Real Madrid and Barcelona meet at the Santiago Bernabeu. They equal in points, 22 each. They have had a very good start of the season in the league. And in the Champions League, in the last two games, they've given traits of what the season could be. Both of them. On one hand, Real Madrid destroyed Shakhtar Donetsk, even though they didn't score enough. Important for what I'll tell you later. In the first leg at the Bernabeu, but then when they went to Poland, where they play Shakhtar Donetsk, it was very hard for them to get something out of there. In fact, it took a Rudiger header right at the end that opened up his face. Literally, they had to put 20 stitches after that allowed Real Madrid to get a point out of that game. The case of Barcelona, well, they had lost already against Bayern, they lost against Inter Milan, and they I was going to say they lost against Inter in the Camp Nou because it felt like a defeat. There were so many things that were missing for Barcelona. The conclusions from that is that on one hand, Real Madrid, even though they create chances, if they relax, anybody can get something out of them. And I think the fact that they had 9 points before the game in Poland meant that they did relax. There was a little bit of rotation and they didn't create as much as they should, but they're not being very effective up front. I think that's what's happening at the moment with them. In the case of Barcelona, well, take the game at the Camp Nou. The first leg, it was the game that the coaches wanted. There was pressure high, crosses, shoots from outside the box. They were finding the players between the lines. Sergi Roberto in a 3-4-3 formation. Sergi Roberto became another midfielder that waited for the ball to be able to turn and find the forwards. They found Sergi Roberto in the goal, for instance, of Dembélé, the first one. They found Xabi, they found Pedri. First half was very good. They won at halftime 1-0. And then they conceded very early within the first 10 minutes. That 1-1 meant that the gates opened. They started playing box-to-box football. And Barcelona, right now, with the centre-backs they've got, they cannot do that. They expose themselves with Piqué, with Marcos Alonso, with Eric Garcia. They are not like, say, as strong physically and fast as Araujo and Koundé, who were greatly missed. With them too, it would have been a different story. With the centre-backs that they had, makeshift centre-backs in the case of Marcos Alonso, for instance, and Piqué doesn't seem to be able to handle these big spaces. Eric Garcia was okay. Generally, the team just collapsed. They weren't accurate in the passing. They weren't really looking for control. They weren't finding those players in the middle. It was just a disaster. It could have gone either way, and two saves from Ter Stegen at the end meant that at least they got a point out of it, but they practically out of the Champions League. Inter have to beat Victoria Pilsen and they will be out. So what you find before the Clasico is a Barcelona with a lot of doubts, a Barcelona that can only do what Xabi wants for maybe 45 minutes, but then when things are tense, the team just don't know how to manage games. They are at level 1 of the Xabi course, of the Xabi university, if you like, and that is bad news against a Real Madrid that left the level when it matters. I'll give you 4 more clues of the Clasico, starting with the goalkeepers, for instance. Ter Stegen only has conceded 1 goal this season, and against Celta last weekend it was the difference between dropping points and actually winning. He is in an outstanding form, and against Inter as well, even though he conceded 3. In fact, Barcelona have conceded 7 in 4 games in the Champions League. It tells you they are not at that level right now, but it does tell you as well that Ter Stegen is in good form. For Real Madrid, if it's Lunin, he is okay, but doesn't feel the confidence that you get when you have been saving the side from losing games, when you've been playing for a long time. The thing that Courtois has. For me, Courtois is one of the best players in the world, not just one of the best goalkeepers, one of the best players. And it will be a doubt if he actually starts. We'll have to wait closer to the date, because already Courtois has missed 3 games with a back problem that has stopped him even training. Next, let's concentrate on the defense. It's true that Barcelona have managed to get 6 consecutive clean sheets, no less, in La Liga. But that really hides the fact that against Celta, for instance, against Mallorca as well, but especially Celta, they could have conceded 2 or 3 goals. The team doesn't adjust to the counters of the rival enough. When they control the game, they're able to defend as a team, as a unit, and they do stop teams attacking the amount of space that they're leaving behind. But when it becomes box to box, and they do that far too often, then they are there for anybody's taking, really. So Real Madrid, who will try to sometimes defend high, but mostly just wait for Barcelona to do something with the ball and then counter-attack them, they will have to be very careful of the ability that Benzema and Vinicius, let's see who plays, if it's Rodrigo, Valverde, of those drives and those counter-attacks, that they are one of the best in the world at that, aren't they? For Real Madrid, let me focus on one player, Eder Militao. Even though he didn't play against Xabi who didn't start, what you had in him right now is one of the best centre-backs in the world. He is physical, he anticipates, he's fast, he's dangerous in set pieces and defends them well as well. So somebody that is leading the defense. Rudiger was getting that position, but right now, even though he didn't break anything, he has 20 stitches in his head. So I think he's going to be out for a little while. Eder Militao, certainly with Alaba or Nacho, who was very useful as well against Xabi, makes the defense of Real Madrid, especially when they defend together, very, very solid. Is Rodrigo the new Benzema? I think Ancelotti has found somebody that can do the role of Benzema. Quite clearly, Rodrigo hasn't got the level of Benzema, but he, in the middle, he links up really well with his teammates. He drags defenders away, he drops deep sometimes, and he sometimes scores. He was the best player against Atletico Madrid, for instance, just before the break, and he can be trusted to play wide, or, as they're doing right now, identify the places where he can influence the game, sometimes in centre position. So if Benzema is not there, but he will be, but if he wasn't there, he can actually do the Benzema role. The best Real Madrid is the one that finds link-ups in the middle and then delivers the ball to Vinicius when they counter-attack too, but especially when in the middle they link Kroos and Modric and Rodrigo and Valverde, and they do that with a lot of quality, often enough. That's the best Real Madrid, that find gaps in defense. But lately, they haven't been doing that often enough, and they haven't been scoring freely either. So that's the hope of Barcelona. But to do that, Barcelona have to defend well. And as we said, this is something that's not happening right now. There is something that's important here and will change the dynamic of what we saw last season. Last season with the 4-0 of Barcelona at the Santiago Bernabeu, the dynamic has changed completely. That day was a disaster for Ancelotti, that decided, strangely enough, to put Modric as a false 9. Now they have a really strong structure, Real Madrid. You know how they play. Everybody knows everybody's role as well. But right now, in the way that both teams are playing, as I'm telling you, the counter-attack of Real Madrid is one of the biggest trends. For Barcelona, they do it very often as well, counter-attack, because when you have Dembélé, Rafinha, Lewandowski, Gavi, that's what they want. Perhaps not what Xabi wants, but that's what the players want. So in a football of transitions, what's important is to have a very strong midfield. A strong midfield that holds together when they've been attacked, and transition with pace as well, when and help the forwards to get into the box with pace when they counter-attack. And Real Madrid have got that. They are that solid doing that, and they've done it for a long time. Is their nature. Barcelona, they're doing it because the players need to do it, but not because the manager wants. And that suggests two ways of thinking about what to do at Barcelona, which, when you create doubts, becomes a worse team. On one hand, Real Madrid have got a clear idea what they want. On the other, Barcelona is still trying to find it. So in my eyes, favourites Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, and Barcelona continue that journey in which there are up and downs after they've been almost knocked out of the Champions League. See what happens against the Bernabeu. People are holding their thoughts a little bit, but if Barcelona lose, the manager will be accused of not getting the best out of our squad that cost 145 million euros to improve this summer, and nobody would think that there is a process, that it takes time. Finally, if things continue badly, I think people will start questioning what Laporta has done with the club, selling bits of the club to have a better present, but there is no better present if titles are not won. So a lot of question marks that could be resolved in the Clasico. Just quickly, 3 other things that I wanted to share with you. Xabi Alonso, of course, has gone to Bayer Leverkusen. What I found out is that he had other offers for Bayer Leverkusen in the past, for Borussia Mönchengladbach, as everybody knows, for Wolfsburg as well. And for Burnley. Burnley also approaching, but he's decided to go to Germany as he realized that Imanol Alguazil is doing such a great job at Real Sociedad that he needed to continue his progression as a manager, and he's doing it the right way by going to Germany, where he's one of them, another German almost. They've adopted him, and he's very happy that that's the case, and that he's been allowed to get a team that is at the bottom of the table. Since he arrived, things are going better in the league anyway, and there's a lot of room for improvement. He will be there showing his credentials of a top manager that I think he is.
Probably in the past I had the chance to take a good team as well, a top team, but I felt that I needed to prepare myself and to find the right moment. And I feel ready that this is the right moment and this is a great project.
Lopetegui, as I published in the BBC webpage, exclusively decided not to go to Wolves because the personal and the professional timings did not coincide. His dad is not very well, he wants to be close to him, and it may take a while, maybe after the World Cup when he starts looking, but he wants to come to the Premier League. Another top manager to add to that amazing league. And Mbappé, I think you're going to see this situation of Mbappé in which stories come out in the media, but the club don't know anything about his future because he hasn't told them anything every 6 months, because his intention is to leave PSG at some point. Is he happy? No, he's not completely happy. He said it when he went to the national side that he prefers to play the way they play in the national side with more space for him. At PSG, he's got to be a number 9 with Neymar and Messi feeding him. That doesn't please him at all. Yes, it seems to me that his ego gone wrong, but at the same time, it's also a strategy. He wants to be out. He finishes his contract in 2024. He's got another year after that, but it has to be agreed by both parts, which means really that as soon as the World Cup is over, I think his thought will be, all right, finish this season with PSG, see if I can go somewhere else, see if Madrid accepts his departure, his arrival. I think they're ready for it. Liverpool don't have the kind of money that it requires. Remember, he got 150 million himself. Obviously, he will get all that if he goes before the end of his contract. That's just for himself, sign-on fee, plus the wages, plus transfer fee. It's a bit too much for Liverpool that calculate where their efforts, the financial efforts. Anyway, as you know, all La Liga games are on Premier Sports. Started on Friday, let me show you the graphic. Rayo Vallecano play Getafe in a Madrid derby. On Saturday, you got Girona Cádiz. Girona haven't got the points that they deserve with the football that they've put in practice. Cádiz struggling to come out of the bottom side of the table. Valencia Elche, again, that can be considered a local derby. Real Mallorca Sevilla, and the last one on Saturday is Athletic Club against Atletico Madrid. Two sides that require the points to get to the target, which is Champions League places. Sunday starts with Celta Vigo Real Sociedad. We've already spoken about the Clásico. Espanyol needs points desperately against a Valladolid side that also need it, and they started playing well. Valladolid. It's a difficult game for Espanyol. Sunday finishes with Betis Almería, and I will be co-commentating that one. Don't miss it. And the fixture list ends with Villarreal Osasuna on Monday. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, Premier Sports have got everything you need of La Liga, not just the games, but also Viva La Liga shows. And there will be another coffee with Guillem at the same time next week. See you then.